Hello and welcome to the coordination exercises part of the course. So the reason I've put this now at the very start of the course is because a lot of these exercises I'm going to show you, they can be cross-referenced over to single staff or double staff or any other prop for that matter. So if you ever explore with poi or a sword or other things, these techniques I'm going to show you now can be used in those as well. Because a lot of the time people really just want to learn the tricks with the staff or something, but they don't actually know how to move their arms, for example, in different directions while moving their body. Okay, so there's lots of different combinations that you can put together that if you could imagine you add some staffs, you're going to create shapes just by holding the staffs and moving your arms. So the more time that you put into these coordination exercises, the quicker you're going to progress when you pick up the staff, because your muscle memory is already there. You've already started to make the pathways within your mind, within your body. So when you pick up staffs, it's just going to be like, it's going to feel very natural, so to say. It's just like when you're learning an instrument, you know, you practice the basics, you get yourself stuck on repeat, you do the same thing over and over again, and then eventually you don't really have to think about it. And then it's just a matter of, you know, how you combine these things together to create a bigger variety of combinations. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start off with our arms facing down, both arms full extension. And I like to ground my feet here, so feel my center of gravity. So while I'm moving my arms, my body is nice and grounded. My shoulders are rolled back and down for now. So you probably notice after a few of these exercises, your shoulders will start to get a little bit tired. So take your time with it, go slow at first. So let's just start with the arms down, and we're just going to make big circles at first. And if you've already done the warm-up exercises before this lesson in the previous lecture, then you should already feel quite warm in your shoulders and your body, and this should be quite easy. So just big circles. Both directions. So at the moment, we're working with wall plane. So wall plane would be as if I'm standing in front of a wall in this two-dimensional shape. So my pattern is moving like this. You are my audience. And this would be wall plane. Okay? So we're going to take these now and we're going to move the arms in opposite directions. And when they meet down the bottom, they're going to cross over and they're going to come up. And what I like to do is really breathe with this. So I'm inhaling as my arms come up and exhaling as my arms come down. And as I'm doing this, I'm also bending my knees a little bit, so it becomes a little bit more of a balancing sensation. Okay? So as simple as this, just starting to also get used to going both directions. So the arms cross over now at the top as well. They come down. And you can switch between these two modes. So both arms going the same direction at the same time. And I'm going to flip this around so you can copy me. So I'm going to face the wall. So both arms. So just copying the same movements I'm doing, we're going to switch now, arms apart. And just like we're doing here at the top where the arms come apart and cross over, we're now going to do that from the side. So one arm's going to come up, one arm's going to come down. Okay? So both arms are meeting on each side. If you want, you can even clap the hands together. So you have this point where the hands meet. Okay? All right? So this is one way of doing it, just following along with what I'm doing. And what we can also do is flip this on our side. So this becomes now wheel plane. So it's like we're standing in a giant hamster wheel or on train tracks. And this is wheel plane. So we're facing this way. And the way we do this is when I'm doing shapes with my arms, I keep my plane flat like this. So if I have an audience, say where the camera is now, that is what the audience is seeing, is a flat two-dimensional shape, whether I'm here or here. Okay? So this is going to look a lot more beautiful when you have fire, because there's a two-dimensional shape rather than me facing towards you and you can't see the tricks so well, okay? So we like to work on these planes. So if I take this pattern, and I flip it on its side, do the exact same movement, I get this, okay? And you see how when I'm opening up to the front, my chest is opening, I'm flat towards you. And now when I'm to the side, my body turns and it's facing in the wheel plane, okay? This is going to allow a lot more range of movement in your shape, because if you're just here, you know, you're stuck and you have to twist. So it's kind of like when you're throwing a punch, it's the same movement. Okay? And it's the same as when I'm opening up to the other side. My chest is facing the other wall. That way it's giving me a lot more range of movement. So when you have staffs, for example, you're going to have a lot more openness with your shape. Okay? Again, we repeat this as we turn the other way. So all I'm doing is just pivoting on my toes back and forth, repeating this shape, and turning it on its side. Okay? And as you can see, there are points where I turn with this shape as well. So if you want, you can turn when your arms are straight out to the sides, or you can turn when your arms are up or down. Okay? So it's nice to play around with different ways of turning. So you can turn here, turn here, turn here. Okay? So starting to tune in with what your arms can do at the same time as your legs. It's going to be a bit of a glitch in the brain at first, because it may be something you've never done before. Maybe it is quite natural for you to do this. Most people I show this for the first time, they start to glitch a little bit. Their brain is kind of like, okay, what's going on here? But just trust yourself, go slow, really just take it in steps, like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so the more you break it down into segments, then you can start to break it into 4 pieces. Is what I like to work with, because usually I'm working with like top, side, bottom, side. So usually it's in 4s. That way your mind can kind of grasp it a little bit easier. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to face the wall, and I'm going to put myself into some different patterns with the arms, and I want you to just follow along with me, okay? So again, I ground my feet so I feel nice and center in my gravity, and just follow along. And stick with it. How's your breath doing? Okay, beautiful. So I hope already that your mind is starting to, work in some new ways. As you can see, I also added some quarter timings in there. So adding in stuff like this. So this kind of stuff, if you just drill these kind of movements and also, add some movement in there, maybe what it's like to do stuff like this. Okay. You can start to trick yourself up a little bit. And if your shoulders are starting to get a bit sore, you can also use your forearms. So what you can do is like have your shoulders tucked back and down so your shoulders get a bit of a break. And you can also just make these circles with the forearms, kind of like what we did in the warm-up section. We're doing this kind of wax on, wax off. So you can also do this with the coordination exercises, doing one, doing both at the same time. This is also a really nice way to warm up the body as well by just doing this. So I recommend, like, when you're warming up for a session, stick your arms in, certain ways just to warm up. Maybe you want to do some of this kind of stuff. Play around a little bit with what your range of movement is, because as we progress through the staff lessons, there's going to be some elements in there where you're going to be folding and unfolding your arms with the staff to create certain patterns. So it's nice to already have these kind of movements kind of, flowing in the mind a little bit. So the rest of the stuff with the staff is going to come a lot quicker. So practice a few of these. I recommend doing it before each training session just to get yourself warmed up. Maybe you want to be a little bit more looser with your movement, like moving your body at the same time. You can kind of play around a little bit with moving. Maybe you want to turn more, move through the space with it. Okay, so the things I'm showing you are a nice way to get into the flow and, copying what I just did there to kind of, create some new pathways that maybe you hadn't thought of. But once you start to feel, that it becomes quite natural, then, make your own flow with it. Each time is going to be different, obviously. Get creative with it, add your own flavors. Maybe you want to do some squat positions or something, or some kind of yoga positions. Whatever, you can play around with different shapes. Because when you add the staff, if you already have these kind of movements, it's nice to just kind of add your own flavor. So yeah, enjoy the process with it. Trick the mind up. It's going to glitch a lot, but once you start to do this more often, your brain is really going to develop new pathways, and it's just going to get easier and easier all the time, so you can start to make up more complicated combinations. Where you're adding extensions and you're just doing, like one or the other, for example. You can start to play with all kinds of stuff. So yeah, start basic at first, like I said, arms together, making circles, and then elaborate on that, expand, take it wherever you want to take it, make it your own, and have fun with it. Okay? See you on the next tutorial, and yeah, have fun.